Okay, we are going to document how to make a AAP24 module today. It starts with this kit. It starts with a kit, a little kit, and the pieces are all in here, as you can see, and they will fit in these boards when you will solder them and make them all work together. Do-do-do-do. And I've got the kit labeled 10K resistors, 300 ohm, 1.2K, and so forth. And when you remove these little cardboard pieces, that will reveal those components that are listed under the label. Okay, and they're numbered so that you don't have to worry about mixing them up. And we'll put in the parts in the same order that they're in this kit. Okay, so first thing I'll do is remove the covers to the kit. Okay, now I have some printed circuit boards over here and over here. The ones over here are the ones we're using for the AAP24, and I'll double check that. Yes, indeed. And these are used for the AAP00. Well, we're going to make up a AAP24 today, so we'll use one of these. Okay, and I'm going to just push this all off to the side. First, let me move some things out of our way here. That's what the floor is good for. I'll push these over to the side, and we'll remove one thing at a time and put them in this board. Starting with the first thing, which is R1 and R7. Both are 10K resistors. Okay, so you just fold the legs of the resistor so that they're perpendicular to the resistor. Okay, and you find the place in here for the resistors. Alright, and sometimes that it's hard to see on the board, the little numbers on there, and that's why I have a piece of paper to help me cheat. See, there you go. That's the same as this. So this part there is this part, and these two things are these two little things. So, using that for our guide, I will look for R1 and R7. Here's R1, it's up here at the top, and you can actually confirm, have it upside down, you can confirm it says R1. It's in the right place. Bend the legs just slightly out like that to hold it in there. Okay, and R7. Looking on the paper for R7. Alright, where is it? It's right, there's an R7, and that R7 is this fourth one right here. Okay, and confirming it, you can still see the R7 is on the circuit board as well. So it goes right there. Again, spread those legs just a little bit. And now I'm going to solder those in place. Okay, so make sure you get a good shot of that, I hope. Right there. I like to use a vise. Some people can just set it down and solder it right on the table. But once I get the vise set to the right size, it's pretty quick and easy to put this piece in the vise. So let's just open up the vise. Let's not skip any steps. There we go. Alrighty. Just wet your tip of your soldering iron. Put a little bit of solder on it. Make sure it's nice and hot and tinned well. Wipe it one more time. Put your solder iron right next to the wire and the pad you're soldering. Hold it for a second and lift up. Do it again. Hold it for a second lift up. I'm going to have to turn on my light so I don't have those shadows. There we go. And one more. Okay. There we go. Now, I like to go ahead and trim these wires as I go so they're not in the way. And you trim them right down to the little solder blob that you just put on there. Alright, so you've got two components in there. We're ready to move on to the next bin. That would be this one. And this is R3 300 ohm. Okay, so you just need one for one circuit board. R3 300 ohm is where on here? R3 300 ohm, where is it? There it is, right there. Okay, it's right there. So, in this case, again, you fold the legs down perpendicular to the body of the resistor. You find R3 on the board, and you stick it in there. Alright, spread the legs a little bit to hold it on there, and we'll put in a couple more components before we solder it. Alright, see the next one? It's this one, and this is R4 1.2K. Now if you're not sure if one of these resistors hopped into the wrong bin on you, you can always test them. You can always take that resistor and put it on a multimeter, and it's better to do that than to take a chance and put the wrong resistor in. Because once you put the wrong resistor in, it's going to take a lot more work to fix it and to find the problem with the board, even if we find it. Okay, so there you go. It says 1.2, 1.2K. That's good. So again, fold the little legs down like that, and find R4 on this paper. It's the top one of these four. Be right there. Push it in. Spread the legs. Okay. And let's go ahead and put another one in before we solder. The next one is this. It says R5 350K. There we go. You might want to double check these two because they look so much alike. I'd hate for you to put a 1.2K in where a 350K goes. Or if you get really good at actually seeing the numbers or the colors on this, then you can go with that. Okay, now this particular resistor, since it's such a high resistance, you have to be careful and not touch both sides. 360K, okay? Because if you do, you'll just be adding your resistance to the formula. Alright, so here we go. Bend the legs down. And that's R5. R5 is the next one down right there. So it goes right here. There. Turn it over. Spread the legs. And let's solder all the ones that we just put in. Oops. I just screwed up. Did you guys see me do that? I had some solder on my soldering iron. I forgot to wipe it, and it got on this little spot right here. So we might have a little problem with that later, but I'll take care of that when we get to it. I'll just remember I did that. Alright. Soldering mistakes will ruin everything. So we don't want to make any soldering mistakes. I'm going to trim a few of these out of the way so I can finish this. This one's not soldered yet. This one is. Okay, just have to solder this one now. Alright, there we go. That's good. Now, the next part we're going to choose is this one. It's R6 and it's a 1 meg. Okay, so again, just bend the legs straight down and find R6 on your page. It's right there, the third one down. Over here, it'll be right there. I'm using a little bigger resistor than I really should here, so it doesn't quite fit in there, but it's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Spread the legs a little. Let's put another one in. Okay, the next thing we're going to put in is this potentiometer. It's a 20K, and it's listed as R2. I'm looking down there, R2, 20K. Okay, looking at the paper, you can see that R2 goes right here, and you have to know which way it goes in. Okay, so, and also that's the one where I accidentally got that glob of solder there a second ago. So does it go in this way or does it go in this way? Well, it happens that the way it goes is this. See, this potentiometer has a little screw on it right here. That screw goes closest to the LED. And if you ever forget which way something goes, you can take a look at the finished module right here. That's what a finished module looks like. And there's the screw, there's the potentiometer we're about to put in, there's the LED, and the screw is closest to the LED. So it goes in right like that. Okay? But now I'm going to have to clean out that spot where I got a little solder. So I'll tell you what, since I have to do that, I'm going to go ahead and solder this resistor in here just to get these legs out of the way. And then I can do a better job cleaning out that spot. This is also the point at which you should check each one. Don't get too far. Don't put too many parts in before you solder them, because you don't want to get them in your way, and you want to be able to check each one to make sure each one is soldered in properly. Okay, now here's the thing. That little spot where I accidentally got some solder on there I want to remove. I'm going to use something called solder wick. There's a couple of ways to do this, but this is just one way I'm going to choose to do it right now. And that's where you put the solder wick right on top of the solder that you're trying to get rid of. And that's probably my alarm telling me to give Tandy her insulin shot. But I just gave it to her. Okay, and then as it melts, it gets absorbed by the solder wick. I'll turn off that alarm. Now, the question is, did I clear it out or not? And if I didn't, you know, I might be able to get that this piece in there anyway, just by melting it while I'm pushing this piece in. See, so that's sometimes works. Just hold it like that. This takes a little bit of finesse. Almost got it. There. See it go in? And you don't want to push these all the way in. So you don't want to push that all the way in because it needs to go like that. See, because this module is going to end up going like that. So you don't put that flat down in there, you bend it. So you want to make sure it doesn't go all the way in so it has room for the legs to bend. So once you got that in there, you can solder those legs in there. Need a little more solder. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Now we're moving right along. The next thing we want to put in is C1. It's a 0.47 tantalum capacitor. C1. And we find that on our page. Where are you, C1? Right here. Now, notice this, that there's a little mistake on this revision of the board. C1 and C5 are reversed. C1 should be this one right here, the square at the top right next to the LED. Okay, so that's right here. And you also want to make sure that you have the polarity correct. There's a little plus sign on there, and that's the plus of the capacitor, and that's the long wire on the capacitor, and there's a plus right on the capacitor to tell you too which one is the plus. So the plus is right here. Push that baby right in there like that. Spread the legs apart so it stays in there. And let's go for another part. Okay, the next part we have is C2, and it's a 0.1 tantalum capacitor. And C2 is the one right underneath it. And it also has a polarity, plus and minus. And in this case, the plus on the board, you can also tell the plus on the board has a square pin instead of a round pin. And it's the opposite of the one above it. So don't get confused and put it in exactly the same way. C2, the plus side is over here on the other side. So it goes in there like that. Alright, you spread the little legs. Yeah, that's good. Let's solder those in there. You can do several at a time and really make some time with this, because you don't have to just make one board. Once you know where C2 is, you can go ahead and stick it in several boards and get them all lined up and ready to go. Now don't ask me how you do it without several vices. You have to figure that out. But there we go, that looks good. Alright, next, looking at our kit, we have these. There's a bunch of these, so that means there's more than one goes on the board. In fact, looking at it, it's C3, C4, C6. C3, 4, and 6. 0.1 ceramic capacitor. So, C3, C4, and C6. And where are those on this paper? Well, there's C3. And there's C4, and there's C6. So on this board, and these are not polarized, you can put them in either way, so whichever way you want to put them in is fine with me. C3 is this one here. C4 is this one here. And C6 is down here. Oops, just bent that. You don't want to bend that too many times, it'll break off. Alright, trying to be careful. Alright, there you go. Bend those legs so you can solder them. Get them out of the way. Put that in the vise. I don't guess you have to put these in the vise if you want to line up a bunch of them. But I like having that thing being held solid. So who knows? How are you going to do it? Okay. Yeah, beeping all over the place. Let's take those three and move them out of the way. Okay. That's right, sweetheart. You tell him. There we go. Okay. There's all your little ceramic capacitors. Next, we have these 1 microfarad capacitors. And let's see how many you got. It's for C5, 8, 9, and 11. 5, 8, 9, and 11. Okay. So you need 4 of them. Okay, so C5. And well, let's see. Well, 8 and 9 are easy to find. They're down here. Don't forget to put the positive in the square hole. There we go. And the one next to it, positive, goes in the square hole. That's the long one. Okay. See, 5, 8, 9, and 11. So on the board they're round, so that'll help you find them. See, 5 is this one on the top that was mislabeled on the board, but we're not going to let that throw us, are we? Okay. And then 11 is this one right here. There you go. Now, just bend the legs out slightly so they don't fall out of the hole. Put that in the vise. I like to use a vise. I don't know what you like, but that's what I like. And solder those suckers in there. Be sure and clean your soldering tip first. Those globs of solder will get you every time. You might enjoy listening to the radio while you're soldering. You might enjoy just having it quiet so you can think. You can focus and concentrate, not make mistakes. Yeah. Sometimes quiet is nice. Hope you have good eyes for this. Okay? Because nothing more frustrating than not being able to see this. See, I give these legs just a little bit of a bend, just a little test to make sure they're solid before I cut them, because one, you might have forgotten to solder one, and two, you might not have soldered it right or well enough. Alright, so there you go. Coming along, huh? Alright, so what's next? Here we go. This is C7, and it's a 47 microfarad capacitor. And it also is on the paper as a round capacitor. And it also has a plus side. So you want to put the plus side in the square hole. Like that. Alright, and just spread those legs a little bit. And after that we have a .033 capacitor, and that one is C10. Okay, and C10 is all the way down here on the bottom of the board. It's also not polarized, so it goes right down here. Alright, spread those legs, and let's solder those in there. Didn't really like how that first solder joint took. I have to go back and check it. It's alright. Okay. And the next one is this LED. It goes in D1. LED is also polarized, and just like the little potentiometer, it's going to be bent down. So make sure that you leave a little extra legs, don't push it in all the way. And which way does it go? Does it go this way or this way? Well, I usually refer to a drawing to help me, but I don't have my drawing available, so I'm going to look at this. And as I look at these two things side by side, I see, looking at the LED, I see it goes like this. Alright, and after you've done a few of these, this is the first one I've done in months, but after you've done a few of these, you get to where you know exactly which side is plus, which side is minus. In this case, let me show you what I just now found. Plus is on the top side of this. So, there you go. You know what, I think I might have made a mistake. Let me double check something here. I see where I made a mistake. On this board, there's a plus that indicates the plus side of the LED is right here. And a little while ago, I thought that was the plus side for this capacitor. So that's an easy mistake to make. As I look at this board a little bit closer with my old eyes, I now see the square pad for these two capacitors. Okay, these two capacitors at the top are on the same side. So that means I'm going to have to turn this capacitor here around. Okay, and I think I'll do that before I put in the LED, because anything that's in the way will make that harder. So it's First I'm going to have to take it out. And I hate rework. Okay? I hate making a mistake. But it happens. Even I make mistakes. And this doesn't happen after you've made one or two of these. Like I said, this is the first one I've made of these in months. So right now I'm drawing off the solder that's on that leg the best I can. Alright, and I can't see very well. I'm going to take off my glasses and see if I can see any better. I really wish I could see better. When I find somebody to do this for me, I always look for somebody who's either got great eyes or great eyes with their glasses. One or the other. And can see it real clearly. Alright? But that's not really me. I'm a bit at a loss here. Okay, I'm looking at a kind of a blur here. Might actually have seen better with my glasses. Let me put those back on. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this in here like this. And I'm going to heat the pad and pull the leg out at the same time. Once the solder melts, I can pull this leg out, I hope. Come on, baby. Come on. Okay, I'm going to use another super tool I've got. Now I do have a desoldering station, which I use when I've got a whole bunch of desoldering to do. But we're going to try and do this with this so that I don't have to go over there. Set that all up right now. Okay, we're trying to get out this one right here. So, just put in here like this. I hate making mistakes. At least you can see what happens if you make a mistake. Alright, so heat this up. Any? Not much. Okay. This time I'm going to pull down as I'm heating it. Now another thing I can do, which I'm just about to do, I'm having trouble pulling that out of there. I'm going to cut off this damn little mother, and I'm just going to cut one of those legs like that. See, now I can pull it a little more easily because the other leg isn't stopping me. I'm pulling it out. There. Okay, and now this one. There. Alright. Now that it's out, now I can't reuse that one because I cut it. That's okay, those things are cheap. What was that again? That was C1. And C1 is, there it is, this tantalum capacitor. And the plus side goes over there. Got one leg through, the other leg's still having trouble getting through because of the remaining solder. Let me see if I can just wet it. Get it wet and push that through. Does not want to go through. Come on, baby. Sometimes if you say, come on, baby, it'll go in. But not this time. It's partly through. It's just got some solder on it. It's hardening it. Yeah, it goes a little bit. Okay, enough of it is through that I can now pull it with the pliers. Maybe I can heat it up from this side. Pull it with the pliers. Nope, can't do that. Okay. Well, I could take a break, or I could keep trying. See, now I'm going to go back and fix that video, because if you're doing this right along with me, then that means you also stuck the capacitor in the wrong way. Yeah, I'm going to create better documentation too. So, yeah, the documentation sucks, the markings on the board suck, everything sucks. I was doing so well. I bet you guys were impressed up until this happened. Well, let's wait till we see if this thing works when I'm done. There we go. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, got it in there the right way this time. Okay. A little solder on the soldering iron. Let's solder that baby in there. Now, we were putting in the LED when we discovered our capacitor polarity problem. There we go. Let's go ahead and solder that in. Okay. Now, what's next? These diodes, D2 and D3. Okay. Now these are polarized, D2 and D3. One of them is there, that's D3, and there's D2. Make sure you pay attention to the polarity on the board. They bend just like resistors. It's just that they're polarized. Resistors are not. So, this diode goes this way. And I'm just going to double check that it looks the same on this board here. It does. Okay. you know what, when you bend those diodes, after you've done a few of these, you don't bend the diode quite as close to the body of the diode as I did just now, because there's a lot of space on this board for the diode, so bend it out a little bit further. See how much leg is on top of the board there? Okay. Alright. Put this in here. Ah, we got a little bit of solder. Okay, feels good. Feels good. There you go. Now, the last piece that's on this side of the parts cabinet is this. Is the 16-pin? No, it's an 8-pin socket. And I like to put sockets on these boards because the sockets are really cheap, and it allows me to take this chip out if I need to. See, this chip that goes in here, I've gotten some bad ones from China. Oops. Looks like I just got a bad socket too. It's also from China. Little pin fell out just now. Okay, well, you know what? They're cheap. Let's not try to fix it. Let's just put another one in. They go in just like a chip, but you see, it gives you the chance. I can just bend over one pin there and bend over one pin on the other side, and that'll hold this in long enough for me to solder it. Oh, there's that pin that fell out of that other one. Yeah. It's hard to unsolder a chip with 8 pins. It's really hard. You gotta get all the solder off of all the legs before that sucker will come out of there. And some of those we got some bad chips from China, and I was trying to fix the board by replacing those things. I might as well just start it over with a new board. There we go. Okay, that's good. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, since I'm going to turn this upside down, I want to put all the little labels back in it. I mean, all the little names and numbers back in here. Alright. Because that's what keeps them from falling all over the place. There's the 1, the 10K. There's the 7, the port .47. Here's number 6, the 20K pot. Here's 10, the 1 microfarad capacitors. There's 5, the 1 meg resistors. There's 8. Oops, I got it in upside down. Well, put it in right. There we go. Okay, there's 9, 0.1 ceramic. 10, 11, 12, wait, 9, 10, 11, 12, 0.033, 4, 3, 2, this is easier than a jigsaw puzzle, 11, 15, 13, and 14. Okay, now you can close this, turn it upside down, open it. We have a few more parts on the other side. See, we have 16, 17, 18, 20. And I'm going to leave 24 and 25 because it's exactly the same thing as what's here, the white and red buttons. 21. Oh, 21, we're not going to need that. That's only for the AAP00. And then these wires. Okay. Okay. So first we're gonna install a chip in that socket that we just put in. Okay, so there we go. Now to do that, you have to actually the little pins are spread out a little bit. You have to like push it down on a table just to get those pins a little bit more perpendicular to the body of the chip. Then you can install it. And install it, make sure that the notch is facing the LED. Okay, because that's polarity. You want to make sure this chip goes in the right way. Make sure all the legs are in there. Push the rest of the way. Okay. The next piece is this. It looks like a transistor, but it's not. It's a 7805 regulator. All right. And it goes right here. And I'm going to make sure that's correct, having not done this in a while. You can't even tell by looking at this. It's hard to see it. Just about confirmed it. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. So the regulator is the one that goes closest to the chip. And the way I spread these legs, I spread one back and one forward and leave the middle one straight. Alright. I'm going to solder that in all by itself. Okay, that's good. Trim those little wires. There we go. Oh, you know what? While we were messing around, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put in this other diode. I put in that one diode here a little while ago, and I forgot to put in this one. Okay, the other diode goes right in here. You know, you don't have to push these all the way down in the hole. If it wants to stand out 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's solder in that diode. I just noticed that diode was still sitting on my table that I took out of the other side. There we go. It'll be a miracle if this thing works when I'm done, huh? Alright. So the last thing we did was stick in this regulator. Okay, the next piece that we have is the one that looks just like the regulator, but it's actually a transistor. And it goes in the hole right in front of the regulator. where I remember when I used to be able to see this stuff so clearly with no glasses in my 20s. I thought, God, it's a good thing I can see good close up. I couldn't see good far away, even in my 20s, even in my teens, but close up I could see perfect. Thank heavens they invented glasses, though. Alright. So, there we go. You got that in there. Now, okay, we need these buttons. You need a white button and you need a red button. Okay? Now, before we can put the buttons in, we've got to put some little wires on them. Well, here's the little wires right here. 2 wires for one button and 2 wires for the other button. Alright? And the way I do it is I put a little twist in the wire, put it through the hole in the button, and then squeeze like that. There we go. Let's do the other one. Put a twist on it, a little loop at the end, put it through the hole, and squeeze till it's tight. Just sort of tight. Okay? Now that you got that tight like that, see, now you can solder it. But you need to kind of have a good physical connection to things before you solder them. That's always important. See, I use my vise like an assistant. Just hold that for me there, buddy. Just hold that. Hold that button. See, if you're doing a lot of these things, you should make up your buttons with your wires on them ahead of time. See? Like that. Then you have buttons with wires on them. Okay. Now let's do that to this white button. Again, we take one of those little wires, put a little twist on it, put it through the leg of the button, and squeeze. Let's take the other one, the little wire. Put a little hook in it. Put it on the white button, leg, the remaining leg, and squeeze. Have my assistant hold it for me while I solder it. And after it hardens, solidifies, you've got it with the wires on it. See there? Now, where do these buttons go on here? Well, using this as an example, we're going to put the red button on the part side. We're going to put the white button on the other side. So on the part side, the red button goes in those 2 little holes. And on the other side, the white button goes in those 2 little holes. Okay, so let's put the red button on first. Goes in these 2 holes right here. And how much do we want to stick it in there? Just a little bit, about like that, so it sticks out about oh, maybe 3/8 of an inch. That's good. And let's just solder that on while that's sitting there like that. Okay, can't see clearly. Let's see. I wonder if that'll stay on there if I turn it upside down. Like that. There, I can see that better. Is that one? That's that one. Okay. Now this one, as we noted, is going to go in these two holes. You see them on the back. On the front, you can see it's got a square on it. We'll go in there. Oh, there it goes. It's very tight. Fortunately, it went in. Alrighty. And we're going to let that stand off. You see, we're going to bend these wires and bend those buttons into position before we encapsulate them. There you go. Let's see. Bend that a little bit. Now this time, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to solder it. I'm going to solder it on this side of the board. Well, I'm still soldering on the solder side of the board. It's just that we inserted the part on the solder side of the board, which makes it a little different. So, that's that one. Okay, and that's that one. There we go. And then when we fold these, see, we're going to these wires will go like that. And you don't want to let those wires for that button touch those wires from that diode. You might even want to bend the diode out of the way a little bit. Just make sure. And try and do a neater job than what somebody did on this one. See all those bent wires? Make it a nice neat little bend like that. It's less likely to end up touching something else. Okay, and the same thing with this one. I just used my needle nose pliers to handle both wires at the same time. Push them like that, but be careful. Look at that on the back. You do not want to let these wires touch the board. In fact, after I've done a few of these, I might not use quite as much length in this wire. I might push the wire through farther than I did. See how I pushed the wire through like less than 1/2 of an inch? I might actually push it through a whole inch or something. But with experience, I'll see what I'm trying to do, and I just trimmed those wires off coming on the other side. What I'm trying to do is to get this piece, these buttons, to where they're at about the same height as the potentiometer. That's the part that's the top of it right before the button starts. Alright, you can bend these wires so they don't touch the board too. Yeah, I might stick a little more wire through those holes next time so we don't have quite as much wire to deal with there. And we'll figure out how much that is later, but looks like we could cut down by another 1/2 inch of wire. So that's what we'll do next time. So there you go, that's looking good. Now where are we? We've got the red and the white buttons on there, and now it's time, looks like we have all the parts on here except for the octal socket. Okay, now here's an octal socket. It's got 8 pins in it. That's why they call it octal. And we need to use these longer wires over here. You need 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? First, we have to put those wires on these holes at the bottom. So again, let's take these wires. Let's put a hook in it. Just a little hook like that. And let's make sure that's the size hook we want. If that's what I want, I can just put it in there like that. See? It'll stay. So I think the easy way to do this, and again I haven't done this in months, so I'm just trying to guess or remember. Put that thing in the vise. Grab these wires one at a time. Put a little hook in it. And put it in the next hole. Like that. Okay. Next wire. Put a little hook in it. Not too tight of a hook, because you're going around this circuit board here. See there? So, just a little hook like that. Bada bada bing. There. Now that you have all those hung in there, you can just go down the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and solder them in. And I'm soldering these in to the top of the board, because that's because they're hanging there. Okay, there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Perfect. Now, they're right there, see? Now you can bend them straight, like that. See that? Let's get them so they're not tangled up. Fan them out a little bit like that. Okay, and they're going to go in this octal socket. And this might be the trickiest part of the whole thing. Pin 1 of the octal socket is labeled right there. There it is right there, pin 1. And next to it is pin 8 on the other side. And here we have pin 1 is the top pin. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright? So, 1 goes in here. 2 goes in there. Okay. 3 goes in there. 4 goes in there. 5 goes in there. 6 goes in there. 7, 8. Alright, and let's push them on there. Push them in there. You can let those wires come right through the bottom of that octal socket. And just twist this thing a little bit so that the wires don't touch each other. And they go down in there. Now, with some experience, and the person who made this had some experience, they actually, maybe they didn't. Let me see. No, this one was made with all the wires on the same side. Okay. Well, I was going to say that you can see that pins, the way I've done this, pin 1 is wrapping around the bottom of the board and going in over here. And that might be better if you had put the wire on from this side over here. But as long as they don't touch each other, you're going to be fine. You just have to make sure that you don't let any of these wires touch each other after you push them in. So let's look around and see if they're touching. 1 is clear, 2 is clear, 3 is clear, 4 is clear, 5 is clear. 6 and 7 are a little close, so let's move 7 a little bit here. It looks to me like next time I do this, I might want to put 1, 7, and 8 on the other side of the board. That's what I'm going to do. That'll make it easier. Put 1, 7, and 8 on the other side of the board, and this will go a lot easier. A little easier. Wasn't that hard. Alright. And you want this to be fairly close to the board. But again, be sure and look at all the wires and make sure none of them are touching each other, or you will be sorry. That looks good. And once you get it, you're ready to solder on that octal socket. And the way you solder on the octal socket is you have to heat up the pin, that's the pin coming out of the octal socket, and the wire that's coming out at the same time, and you stick the solder right in that hole, and you let the solder get sucked into the hole. So heat it all up and let a pretty good amount of solder get sucked in there. See, I applied it and I backed off and let it get sucked in there. You don't want to let any solder accumulate on the outside of the pin though, because then you won't be able to plug the pin into its socket. Okay, that one looks really, really good. That one I just did. Okay, let's do the next one. See, I'm using like a ½ inch of solder, of this really thin solder on each pin. See, it's by holding it there, by holding the soldering iron on this pin and the wire, got to touch them both. It gets hot and it sucks the solder right down into that pin. I got one more to do and then the phone rings. I'm just going to let it ring. Could be a fan asking me if I'll give him my last show. Could be the IRS telling me they want to audit my 2012 taxes. Could be Donald Trump asking me if I want to work for his team. Could be Rush Limbaugh asking me if I want to do a guest appearance on his show. Could be Elizabeth Warren calling me again to ask me for a date. I'm not going out with Elizabeth Warren. Okay? There we go. They all look pretty good, and you should wiggle them. Make sure they're. This one. Make sure they all feel real good. If you're not sure about one, resolder it. This is where common mistakes are made, where it's not soldered well into the pin and we don't get a good connection. Do not want that. Okay, but once you have it, then you trim this all the way down to the pin itself. Take these wires right off. And there we have a finished module that just needs to be encapsulated. And it should look exactly like this model. Oh wait, there's one thing missing I see. It's this little test wire. Okay, I forgot about that test wire. So, that test wire goes on there, and we just stick that on there to give someone a place to check the output. And let's see, where does that go? Oh, whoever it is left me a message. Okay, and the test wire goes right there. That's the last little wire we're going to stick on there. And I'm just using one of these wires I trimmed. And since I put it in this side of the board, and I don't want it to fall out, I'm going to solder it in on this side of the board. There we go. Yeah, people are always asking me, what is that little wire sticking out of the top of my module? And this is it. It's a test wire. And it just gives you a convenient place to test the output of your module with your oscilloscope. You can put your oscilloscope right on that pin and see what's coming out of your module. So, I'd say we're ready to go test this thing and see if it works. Okay, I have a module back here. It's a tone decoder, just like this one. If you press the red button, it sends a manual command to open the mouth. It also has a tone button on it. Okay, and this is a tone module that is tuned to make this operate. Let's take this out. Let's put this one in. Alright, the first thing that we should see when we put this in is a little flash of the LED. I see it. Okay, let's try the override. That works. Let's see if it's making a tone. It is. Okay, we want to tune it. So this is the tone we want to tune it to. Here's what it's got. So it needs to go up. It's about the same. So turn it on to run. I press this button. It works just great. So we are a success. Again, this module is ready for encapsulation.